मैंने कुछ नहीं किया।
Anurag Kashyap may have just made the most controversial movie of his career, as the title itself is a direct metaphor for how the justice system treats the accused.
मुझे अब तक इतना ही समझ में आया है कि हम खुद ही अपनी सर्कस के बंदर हैं।
Pure, unfiltered Kashyap is back. Bobby Deol stripped of everything, courtroom and prison dialogue that is absolutely spine-chilling, and a world where the system does not care if you are guilty or innocent. But two big questions arise. Why is a wealthy TV star completely stripped of his power and thrown into this brutal environment? And what is the actual connection between his fight for freedom and the title Bandar? Stay tuned because the answer is not what you think.
मैंने कुछ नहीं किया। मैंने कुछ नहीं किया।
No way. When I first watched this trailer, the very first thing that hit me was the absolute chaos of the setting. It feels heavy, dirty, and immediate. The video opens with Jitendra Joshi interrogating Sameer, Bobby Deol's character in the film. This scene immediately gives me massive flashbacks to Kashyap's earlier movie, Ugly. If you remember that film, the police station interrogation scene between Rahul Bhatt, Vineet Kumar Singh and Girish Kulkarni is one of the most iconic scenes of Kashyap's filmography, especially for its dark comedy set inside a tense setting.
क्या बोल रहा तू? फोन पे फोटो क्या बोल रहा है अभी?
तो जब मैं फोन करता हूँ तो मेरा फोटो आता है पापा कॉलिंग करके।
क्या होता है? वाह वो क्या?
पापा कॉलिंग करके मेरा फोटो आता है। पापा कॉलिंग।
On the contrary, the scene between Bobby and Jitendra is more intense and intimidating. Joshi brings a heavy, imposing energy to it, which will set the tone for the movie.
No, लड़की बोलती है no. No means no.
सिर्फ बात समझ। No means no.
बच्चन साहब बोला है no means no.
The script is co-written by Abhishek Banerjee and Sudeep Sharma, with Nikhil Dwivedi producing. Personally, seeing Sudeep Sharma, who wrote Paatal Lok and Kohra, as a co-writer for this movie gives me a lot of confidence in the project. The movie has a diverse cast, with Sanya Malhotra playing Sameer's sister. Sanya is usually seen in softer, more grounded roles, and it will be interesting to see how she helps her brother get justice in a role that might be deeply complex, stressful, and morally compromised. Then we have Sapna Pabbi as Gayatri, his ex-girlfriend, and Saba Azad as Khushi, his current girlfriend. The plot kicks off when Sameer blocks Gayatri on his phone and she immediately retaliates by accusing him. The trailer shows the shift and terrifying fallout of that single action, and it is not just his immediate circle. The trailer gives us brief, haunting glimpses of a massive cast inside the prison walls. We are talking regional and indie cinema actors like Indrajit Sukumaran, Rajvi Shetty, Natesh Hegde, Riddhi Sen, and Ankush Gedam. Kashyap is bringing in major talents from across different film industries to populate this jail, which makes the world feel incredibly real and vast. And then we have the dialogue.
मैं बनाऊंगी तुम्हें हीरो, हर अखबार के फर्स्ट पेज पे तुम्हारी फोटो होगी.
The spoken lines bite hard, especially in the context of the movie. We hear heavy legal codes like 376 and 302. The shots from inside the jail are extremely raw and reminded me of Madhur Bhandarkar's movie Jail. In Bandar, the characters twist it and turn their circumstances into a joke. They use the actual language of justice to mock the entire concept of justice. It shows you exactly how corrupt and cynical this world is before the main character even enters the cell block. This world perfectly sets the movie's core theme, Bandar, the monkey in the circus. That word is not just a random choice thrown in for shock value. It is the entire structural metaphor for the film. Sameer Mehra is a famous actor. He is wealthy, handsome, and holds immense social status. But the second those allegations hit, all of that power completely vanishes. He stops being a human being with rights and becomes a performing animal. The legal system and the media do not care if he is actually guilty or innocent. They want a massive public show.
You're goddamn right.
There is a specific line in the trailer that gives this away. A voice says, nobody cares if they actually did the crime or not. Once you get marked as the accused in a high-profile case, you are trapped. You become a piece of pure entertainment for the public. You are just a monkey performing tricks in a circus to keep the crowd happy. Sameer is desperately trying to prove he's a victim. He's crying and begging, but the police just push him around and the jail inmates treat him like property. This leads directly into the unreliable narrator trap. Kashyap sets this up brilliantly to confuse our moral compass. Sameer screams that he is innocent. He cries and says a stalker is setting him up because he blocked her contact. The background music swells and you almost feel sorry for him. You want to root for the underdog fighting a broken system. Before the arrest, we literally hear him talk about how his mind works. We hear him say he feels like a terrible and creepy person. We hear the cop list of charges of blackmail, extortion, and receiving inappropriate photos. Sameer is a textbook unreliable narrator. Kashyap is daring us to trust a guy who admits he's deeply flawed. We are watching a brutal legal system tear a man apart, but we do not actually know if the man deserves it. He might be an innocent victim of a weaponized law or a monster finally caught. We are trapped in the middle of this moral mess, and that is exactly where the director wants us to be. Anurag Kashyap does not make clean movies about perfect people who always make the right choices. He makes movies about broken, selfish, and flawed individuals who are often their worst enemies. If you look back at his entire filmography, his signature style is evident in his best work. Movies like Black Friday and Gangs of Wasseypur brought the grit and raw truth of the real world to the big screen. He took away the glossy sets of Bollywood, he replaced them with dusty streets, crammed apartments, and sweaty interrogation rooms. Bandar feels like a massive, intentional return to that specific type of raw filmmaking. It feels incredibly similar to the psychological chaos he built in movies like Ugly or Raman Raghav 2.0. In those films, the characters made terrible decisions driven by ego, greed, or anger, and he could not look away because it felt so real. The Bandar trailer gives off that same energy. Kashyap loves to trap his characters in situations with no way out. He puts them in a cold corner and watches them panic. He wants you to see the ugly side of humanity because he believes that is where the real stories hide. And he achieves this here by casting an actor who is currently going through a massive, unprecedented career shift.
It is his most naked performance. He just has to be. He has to play a very normal human being. There's no Bobby Deol. और literally वो reference है इस फिल्म में कि Bobby Deol था 25 साल पहले.
Bobby Deol's career has been a wild ride that nobody could have predicted. So much so that Kashyap pays a homage to that journey in this dialogue.
और किससे डर लगता है?
कि लोग मुझे भूल जाएंगे.
Bobby started his career in the 1990s as a massive, conventional romantic hero and an action star. Movies like Barsat, Gupt, and Soldier made him a household name across the country. He had a very specific style that defined an era. The long curly hair, the tinted sunglasses, the leather jackets. He was the definition of cool for a whole generation of moviegoers. And then the industry evolved in the late 2000s, and the typical macho action hero lost ground to more realistic characters. Bobby had a long string of box office failures, and he slowly faded from the mainstream spotlight. And as a retrospective, he decided to actually learn acting. It might sound wild, but that's true.
I mean, बीच में जब मैंने कुछ मिल हो नहीं रहा था, तो I went and did some acting classes.
अच्छा.
I went for these workshops.
Okay.
और मैं सब try कर रहा था मैं.
He went back to basics, moved to streaming platforms, and took roles that were dark, complex, and sometimes downright evil. The digital series Ashram brought him back into the public eye. He played a corrupt, highly manipulative god-man, and the audience loved his performance. Then came Animal, and he became a massive nationwide sensation. He played the mute villain Abrar, and solely through expressions and sign language, he gave a performance that cemented his brand new legacy as an unstoppable, dominant force on screen. However, when you look at Bobby Deol in Bandar, it looks less of a reinvention and more like a deconstruction.
उन्होंने बंदर के बाद बोला भी शायद किसी को, एकदम निचोड़ दिया फिल्म मेरे को, डूबना पड़ेगा. झोंका.
उसने पूरा आग में कूद गया.
Kashyap is not building a new Bobby Deol. He's stripping away the ashram godman, the animal villain, and he's showing you what is underneath all that armor. We see Sameer shrinking inside his cell, hunched over on a dirty floor. His voice cracks when he begs the cops to listen to his side of the story. He looks genuinely terrified of the people around him. Bobby is not playing a new kind of tough. He's letting himself look weak, old, and desperate. It takes a lot of guts for an actor who has just built an entire second career on being an unstoppable force to look completely helpless on screen. This directly ties into the classic self-destructive hero trope that Kashyap loves. Sameer Mehra is a guy who ruins his own life through his own actions. This is a recurring theme for the director. Think about Dev in Devdeep. That character was arrogant, wealthy, and deeply toxic. He pushed away everyone who cared about him and spiraled into a dark hole of his own making. Sameer feels like an older, more famous version of that exact character type. He has fame and money, but his own reckless behavior opens the door for his absolute downfall. Kashyap loves punishing characters for their arrogance, and he's doing so here on a massive scale. And as in all his movies, Kashyap's visual language is evident in the trailer. From the opening scenes in neon blues and hot pinks, which reflect the hollow nature of Sameer's celebrity lifestyle, to when the vibrant palettes shift after his arrest, Kashyap uses color grading to map Sameer's psychological collapse. Instead of the low camera angles that make an actor look heroic, Kashyap shoots Sameer from high angles, physically shrinking him against the prison walls. The editing and sound design build anxiety, with cuts in the trailer placed right on the beat of harsh sound effects, which gives you a feeling of a rapid rhythm mimicking a panic attack. Kashyap strips away the opening music, replacing it with the raw, ugly noises of a prison. In the tensest moments, the sound design drops out completely, leaving nothing but the audible weight of Bobby Deol breathing heavily in the dark. Every technical element works together to leave the audience feeling as trapped as the protagonist. This brings us to the point where the movie becomes highly controversial. The producer of the film, Nikhil Dwivedi, brought a specific newspaper headline to Anurag Kashyap, which sparked the entire concept for the project. They looked closely at the several misuse of the new laws in the Indian justice system. Kashyap based the story on real cases where individuals faced back-to-back legal complaints. People were filing multiple fake cases across different police stations without fair trials to ruin someone's life and career systematically. The movie explores the dark side of recent legal reforms. We all want strong laws that protect victims and punish terrible behavior, but Bandar looks at what happens when those vital laws are weaponized for personal vendetta. This is exactly why the film is already getting mixed critical reception, where one side is praising it for taking a brave look at the legal system and the other side citing creative risk as the movie is telling a one-sided story of a falsely accused suspect. Kashyap uses his massive cast to show what that broken machine actually looks like on the inside. The prison is filled with actors speaking Kannada, Malayalam, Bengali and Marathi. He reflects the real diversity of Indian prisons where people from all over the country are trapped together. The critique of the legal system goes much deeper than just a media trial. The movie highlights massive flaws in the judicial process. It points out a terrifying reality about the country's prisons, and the script references the horrors of real situations. This movie is clearly not a simple story with good guys and bad guys. It is a dark, aggressive look at the justice system. We see a veteran actor completely shed his tough guy image to play a broken, desperate suspect. We see a director returning to the cynical, street-level style that made him a legend in indie cinema. Bandar looks very interesting and I'm really excited to watch it. Let's hope this psychological puzzle is worth the watch. Let me know what you think of this trailer in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already and check out our reaction video of the Dragon trailer right here. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.